Dear ladies, we live in a world where our phones hold more secrets than our diaries ever did, where a password can become the wall that separates two hearts sleeping inches apart. And ladies, let me tell you this, when a phone becomes a mystery, love becomes a question mark. Let's not act like we haven't felt it, that strange gut feeling when he flips his phone face down. The sudden tension in the air when a message flashes on the screen and he swipes it away like it's nothing. And maybe he tells you, don't be so insecure, or why don't you trust me? But trust isn't about believing blindly. Trust is earned, not demanded. A phone is not just a device anymore, it's a vault. A place where emotions are archived, conversations are deleted, truths are buried, and connections are made, sometimes not with you. When you're in a relationship and you feel more like a detective than a partner, that's not love, that's survival. Ask yourself this: if there's nothing to hide, why is everything hidden? If there's honesty, why the secrecy? If you're the one, why do you feel like an outsider? I'm not saying a man has to hand over his privacy like a trophy. No, but if the relationship is built on mutual respect, transparency becomes natural. Love should never make you feel like you're snooping through shadows. It should make you feel like you're basking in sunlight. Let's stop normalizing emotional negligence, stop romanticizing struggle love, the kind where you justify every cold shoulder, every locked screen, every deleted chat. You deserve more than someone who treats you like an option while you love them like a priority. The moment you feel like you have to earn access to your partner's truth, that's the moment you need to pause and look inward. Love doesn't require a password. Trust doesn't need Face ID. And if your presence in his life feels like an intrusion, then maybe you're in the wrong life altogether. Let's be the kind of women who don't chase secrets, who don't beg for clarity, who don't cry over a glowing screen in the middle of the night while he sleeps peacefully beside you, emotionally miles away. A locked phone might seem small, but sometimes it's the symptom of a locked heart, and you can't build an open future with someone whose soul is on Do Not Disturb. So, stand tall, raise your standards. Know your worth, and remember, if the truth is hidden, maybe the love is too. Thank you. A locked phone reflects emotional distance when your partner hides his phone or guards it like a secret vault. It often signals a deeper emotional disconnection where trust is missing and intimacy is replaced with doubt. Trust is earned, not demanded. Blind faith is not love. True trust is built through transparency and consistency, not by guilt, tripping someone into silence. Love shouldn't feel like an investigation if you constantly feel the need to search, snoop, or decode hidden signs. You're not in love, you're in survival mode. That's not a relationship, that's emotional warfare. Privacy and secrecy are not the same. Healthy boundaries are normal, but secretive behavior disguised as privacy is manipulation. In a loving partnership, there's nothing to hide. You deserve to be the priority, not the outsider. A relationship should make you feel secure and seen, not like a third party to your own story. If you're begging for clarity, you're already being denied respect. Know when to walk away from a locked heart if openness, honesty, and vulnerability aren't part of the relationship. Don't settle. A locked heart can never give you the love your open heart craves. When your partner hides his phone or keeps it locked like a top secret mission, it's not just about the phone, it's about what it represents. That small device, which used to simply make calls and send texts, has now become a window into someone's soul. Their patterns, their priorities, their distractions, and sometimes their secrets all lie inside that screen. So when he guards it with more intensity than he guards you, you start to feel it, that distance. That subtle emotional wall rising brick by brick between you. It begins slowly. One day he turns his phone screen downward during dinner. You don't say anything. Then he starts leaving the room to take calls. You brush it off, You tell yourself you're overthinking it. That's what love does sometimes. It makes us doubt our instincts. It convinces us that asking questions is the same as creating problems. But you know deep down, when a person starts protecting a phone like it's Fort Knox, what they're really protecting is a part of themselves they no longer share with you. Emotional distance never happens overnight. It creeps in through silences, through the small lies, through the way he used to text you first thing in the morning, and now the only time you see his name light up your screen is when you message first. It's in the way conversations become shorter and explanations become vaguer. You used to know everything, from what he had for lunch to what stressed him out at work. Now you barely get updates, just "I'm busy" or "we'll talk later." But later never comes. The phone stays close to him, face down, locked tight, vibrating with notifications you never see. The irony is, in today's world, we don't even need to hear words to know something's off. The silence says it all. And that little device, it becomes the center of your world, not because you're obsessed with it, but because it's the one thing that keeps taking him away from you. Every time he smiles at a message and quickly hides the screen. Every time you walk into the room and he flips it over, that's not just a phone, that's emotional exile, and let's talk about what it does to you. It makes you second. Guess everything, it chips away at your self-worth. You start wondering if you're being paranoid, if you're not cool enough to respect his privacy. But deep down, you're not asking for passwords or access. You're just craving connection. You're longing for the openness you once had. You're hoping that the man who once couldn't stop sharing his life with you would stop locking you out. This is not about control. This is about clarity. When someone is emotionally available, they don't flinch when their phone rings. They don't hide their screen like it holds nuclear codes. When a man is open-hearted, the phone is just a tool, not a trapdoor. He has nothing to hide, so there's nothing to fear. But when the phone becomes more loyal to him than you feel he is, when it gets more attention than your feelings, when you're left wondering instead of knowing, you have to ask, is this really love? Because true love doesn't make you feel like you're standing outside the door, knocking. It welcomes you in, and when a heart is open, so is everything else. But when the phone is locked, guarded, and secretive, it's often because the heart behind it is too. Blind trust is a myth that has destroyed more relationships than dishonesty ever did. Trust is not a switch you flip on just because someone says, "Believe me." It's not something you give simply because you love. Trust is earned. It is built moment by moment, action by action, truth by truth. And when someone demands trust without offering transparency, that's not love. It's control dressed up as loyalty. You see, in the beginning, we want to believe so badly. We want to think that the person we love would never lie, never hide, never deceive. But love is not about hoping someone is telling the truth. It's about knowing they are because they've given you every reason to believe so. A person who values you won't just ask for your trust. They'll work for it, prove it, and honor it. Too often, when we start to feel that gut instinct, that whisper of doubt, we silence it out of guilt. We're told, "Why are you overthinking?" or "You don't trust me," and we immediately shrink ourselves. We apologize for feeling. We bend over backward to seem chill, to seem cool, to not be the insecure one. But what they call insecurity is usually just intuition with a voice. You're not paranoid. You're perceptive. Trust doesn't mean you never question things. It means when you do question, the answers feel honest. It means you don't have to beg for reassurance. You don't have to snoop or investigate. Trust is the peace of mind that comes from knowing that your partner honors the relationship in your absence as much as in your presence. That when he's alone, he's still choosing you. But when someone repeatedly invalidates your feelings, when they hide behind the word privacy, to avoid accountability, when they treat your need for clarity like an interrogation, that's not trust, that's manipulation. They want the benefits of your faith without the burden of their honesty, and that's where most people go wrong. They think love should mean never asking questions. No, love should mean feeling safe enough to ask them and receiving answers that don't leave you more confused. When trust is earned, you feel it. You don't sit around wondering if he's lying, if he's deleting messages, if he's covering tracks. You don't cry in silence while he scrolls through a phone you're too afraid to touch. Real trust brings calm, it brings freedom, it brings a kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need constant reassurance because the actions speak loud enough. And let's be clear, earning trust isn't about sharing every password or giving access to every private thought. It's about consistency, it's about honesty that doesn't shift with the situation. It's about treating your partner's emotions with care, not contempt. If he wants your trust, he has to give you his truth, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's uncomfortable. So the next time someone says, "Just trust me," ask yourself, have they earned it? Because your heart is not a game of chance, it's not a gamble, it's a sacred place, and anyone who wants a space in it must build their home with bricks of honesty, not smoke and mirrors. If love starts to feel like an investigation, something's already broken. You were not meant to play detective in a relationship that's supposed to feel safe. You weren't built to decode messages, trace patterns, or collect evidence to prove you're being lied to. That is not love, that's emotional exhaustion. And yet so many of us, especially women, fall into this trap. We start picking up on the smallest shifts, the way his voice changes when he says her name, the way he suddenly starts using a password on his phone, or how he used to leave it charging on the table and now keeps it glued to his side like it's a ticking time bomb. You tell yourself you're just being cautious, just looking for peace of mind, but deep down, you know the moment love became a puzzle. You stopped being his partner and started being a silent investigator, hoping to find reassurance in hidden corners where it shouldn't be hidden in the first place. And here's the heartbreaking truth. When you have to search for answers in love, it's usually because they're no longer being given to you freely. Love is not supposed to feel like you're constantly chasing the truth. It's not about watching every reaction, overanalyzing every word, and waiting for mistakes to fall into your lap, so you can finally validate what your heart has been screaming for weeks. You were never meant to be the woman who loses sleep over notifications that aren't hers, or who cries silently in the bathroom trying to convince herself she's just overthinking it again. And yet, how many of us have been there? Watching him smile at his phone and feeling that pang of something you can't explain, asking simple questions like, "Who was that?" and getting defensive answers like, "Why do you always ask?" That's not security, that's survival. And if you're constantly forced to survive your own relationship, then it's not a relationship anymore. It's a war zone, and the only weapon you're given is silence. The world may try to tell you that this is normal, that all men do this, or that you just need to chill. But don't confuse normalized behavior with acceptable behavior. Just because many people tolerate secrecy in their relationship doesn't mean you have to. Don't let anyone gaslight you into believing your instincts are the problem when the real issue is their lack of openness. You deserve a relationship where you don't have to question the energy in the room every time his phone lights up. You deserve a love where your mind is at peace, not in constant search mode. You deserve a partner who gives you the kind of clarity that doesn't require passwords, explanations, or late night tears. A man who doesn't make you feel like you have to prove your worth just to get the truth. Stop choosing relationships that make you beg for honesty. Stop calling it trust when it's really just silence covering up pain. The kind of love that forces you to question your reality isn't love, it's emotional imprisonment. And no matter how much history you have, no matter how deep your feelings go, nothing is worth losing yourself in the name of staying. If you constantly feel like a detective, it's because something in your heart already knows. You were never meant to solve the mystery, you were meant to be part of the truth. There's a big difference between privacy and secrecy, and far too many people blur that line when it suits them. Privacy is healthy, it's your own space, your peace, your thoughts. It's what we all need as individuals, but secrecy, that's different. Secrecy is a wall, not a boundary. It's not about protecting oneself, it's about hiding. It's about deception, and when someone uses the word privacy to justify locking you out emotionally, that's not love. That's manipulation wrapped in pretty words. In a real relationship, privacy doesn't feel like exclusion. It doesn't make you feel like you're standing in the dark while the other person disappears into the light alone. Privacy means respecting each other's space while staying emotionally connected. It's not about erasing messages, keeping passwords like classified codes, or guarding a phone like it contains national secrets. That's not being private, that's being secretive. And when someone makes you feel guilty for wanting transparency, they're not protecting their peace, they're protecting their lies. So many women have been told that asking for openness is a weakness, that it's a sign of insecurity. But questioning someone who keeps pushing you away with vague excuses is not insecurity, it's intuition. When you feel the shift, the distance, the energy that once felt magnetic, now cold and indifferent, your heart knows. And instead of offering reassurance, he might make you feel like you're the problem for even noticing it. But ask yourself this: why does love suddenly require silence? Why does a relationship that once shared everything now feel like a puzzle missing its core piece? We're conditioned to accept this, to smile, to stay quiet, to trust blindly, to believe that everyone needs privacy. And yes, everyone does, but in love, privacy should never be weaponized. It should never be used as a curtain to cover things that hurt you in the shadows. The moment your partner starts using "it's my private life" as a shield to avoid being accountable in a shared life, something is off, because real love doesn't exclude, it includes. Real love doesn't hide, it explains, it comforts, it calms your storm. A man who truly loves you won't mind showing you that there's nothing to hide. He won't flinch when you pick up his phone by mistake. He won't panic when you sit beside him as he types. He won't delete messages at midnight or change passwords like he's being watched by the FBI. He'll live in a way that keeps your heart at peace, not on edge. And that kind of openness isn't about control. It's about connection. The moment you start confusing secrets for self-respect, you start losing yourself. You start shrinking to fit inside someone else's narrative, a narrative that's not even honest with you. Don't settle for half truths delivered as boundaries. Don't keep justifying behavior that leaves you in tears with words like "maybe I'm just overthinking." You are not asking for too much by asking to be included. You are not being needy for wanting clarity. You are being human. You are being honest. You are protecting your peace. Privacy should make both partners feel safe, not just one. And when it doesn't, when it feels like you're being left out of your own story, that's when you know this isn't privacy anymore. This is secrecy, and love that has to be hidden is love that's already halfway gone. When you're in love, you expect to feel like you're part of something beautiful, something whole, something sacred. But when you're constantly left in the shadows, when you start to feel like you're looking in from the outside of your own relationship, it breaks something inside you. You begin to question your value, not because you're not enough, but because someone keeps treating you like you're too much to include. And that's when it hits you. You're no longer the priority. You're just there, present, but not seen. Loved but not fully chosen. You can always feel it when your place in someone's heart starts to shrink. It's not loud, it's not explosive, it's subtle. It's in the way he stops sharing his day, stops asking about yours. It's in the way he's scrolling through his phone while you're speaking, nodding without listening, pretending to be present while his mind is somewhere else, maybe with someone else. It's in the way you get the leftovers of his time, his attention, his affection. It's like emotionally, you've been moved out of the house and you're just lingering on the porch, hoping to be invited back in. You were never meant to be a guest in your own love story. You were never supposed to fight for your spot in someone's life when you should have been the reason they made space in the first place. It's painful to watch the man you once believed would protect your heart now become the reason it feels so neglected. And still we try, we shrink, we adapt, we justify. He's just stressed. He needs space. Maybe I'm being too sensitive, but in the process, you're the one constantly left starving for the basic emotional nutrients. Honesty, attention, presence. A real partner makes you feel seen. Even in silence, you feel held. But when you start feeling like an outsider, like someone just orbiting their world instead of living in it with them, that's when you need to check the mirror, not to question yourself, but to remind yourself of your worth. You are not hard to love. You're not asking for too much when you ask to be included. You are not dramatic for wanting to feel chosen every single day. That's what love is, a daily decision to keep choosing each other, even when life gets chaotic, even when emotions get messy. Being sidelined emotionally is one of the most silent ways a heart can break. Because it doesn't happen with betrayal or loud fights, it happens in quiet moments where you realize he shared a celebration with everyone but you. When he opened up to someone else but told you he was fine, when he chose to be vulnerable with the world but left you wondering what you did wrong. But darling, it's not about what you did, it's about what he stopped doing. Love requires effort, and when someone stops showing up emotionally, it's not your fault they closed the door, but it is your choice whether you keep knocking or not. Never let someone treat you like a backup player when you've shown up like the MVP. You've been loyal, patient, forgiving, understanding, but love that keeps asking you to stay quiet and accept less isn't love. It's a one-sided transaction. If he can't make you feel like a priority, don't waste your time proving your place. You are the prize, and anyone who makes you feel like you're outside the circle doesn't deserve a front row seat in your life. There comes a point when you realize that no matter how much you love someone, you cannot force them to open their heart. You cannot keep knocking on doors that are locked from the inside. You cannot keep pouring your truth into someone who responds with silence, half answers, and emotional detachment. When a heart is locked, no amount of love can pick that lock. No amount of patience, no level of loyalty, no sacrifice will be enough to reach someone who has already decided to shut you out. You keep thinking, maybe if I'm more understanding, he'll change. Maybe if I give him more space, he'll come back. Maybe if I just don't ask too many questions, he'll start opening up. But the truth is, when someone wants to be open with you, they will be. They won't make you beg for clarity. They won't punish you with silence when you express your needs. They won't act like vulnerability is a crime. Because when someone truly loves you, sharing becomes second nature, not something they hold like power. You try to convince yourself it's just a phase, that everyone gets distant sometimes. But what happens when the phase becomes a pattern, when the bad day turns into a bad month, when you're lying next to someone who feels 1,000 miles away, not because of distance, but because of detachment? You're in the same room, but not the same world. You're still in the relationship, but you're the only one carrying it. And that's when you need to ask yourself the hardest question: am I still waiting for a version of him that only exists in my hope? Because hope can be beautiful, but when it keeps you chained to someone emotionally unavailable, it becomes a prison. You deserve a love that answers when you call, that speaks when you're in doubt, that chooses openness over ego. You deserve a partner whose heart doesn't need to be unlocked because it was never closed to you in the first place. But what we do instead is settle. We shrink. We stop asking. We stop expecting. We normalize the distance. We dress up emotional neglect as independence. We tell ourselves, maybe I'm just too emotional, or he's not good at expressing himself. But how long will you keep making excuses for someone who's made peace with your confusion? How long will you keep accepting silence where there should be intimacy? A locked heart cannot build a home with you. It can't create a safe space. It can't nurture you, grow with you, or walk through life beside you. It will always keep you on the outside, guessing, doubting, hurting, and that's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to recognize when it's time to stop knocking, because staying in front of a closed door doesn't open it, it only keeps you from finding one that's wide open. When someone chooses emotional walls over emotional connection, let them live behind those walls. Don't try to rescue them from the very silence they chose. Let them stay locked in if that's what they want. But you deserve open doors, open arms, and a heart that doesn't make you earn love like it's a prize. The love you're looking for isn't hiding behind a lock. It's waiting in the light, unafraid, unguarded, and entirely yours.